Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Fire Up Michigan. My name is Scott Morganroth, appropriately named the Motor City Madmouth. Of course, it better be for this show, even though I carry this name everywhere, anyways. And we have a great broadcast lined up today. And you talk about a great broadcast up. I got two marks, okay? So I guess in math they call it M squared, okay? And of course, GE, George Eichorn. GE, we all know is General Electric, good GE, good things come to life. And I had to throw that in there, and also stands for my longtime broadcast partner for the better part of 42 years. Well, let me once again introduce the crew. George Eichorn, glad to have you back.
Thank you. Good to be here, Scott. Everybody, it's looking forward to it.
Madman Mancini, what can I tell you? You know, I love your brother. We do a lot of good stuff together, and you are the one guy to me that you talk about energy at our age and just kicking some butt out here on the airways. I don't think life would be. I think life would be boring without you, Madman Mancini. And I'm glad that you've certainly made it interesting in 2022 with all the stuff we're involved in.
I don't know who's Steve Carlton and who's Tim McCarver, but we'll figure it out. I know definitely we're 60 feet 6 inches apart.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, and a lot of miles when to talk about teleconferencing. And last but not least, our guest of the evening, Mark Persails. Mark Persails, obviously, is a former Tiger farmhand. And Mark, why don't you give everybody an overview of everywhere you've been? Of course, we only have about 50 minutes. Okay, just kidding with you, 60 minutes. And we're going to get to some really timely topics tonight. Go ahead, Mark, take it away.
Well, I appreciate Scott for having me on here and with the fellows. And this is exciting for me. Drafted in 94 by the Tigers, played 6 years with them or so till 99. Then got traded to Houston Astros for Brad Osmus and CJ Nikowski. Went on to play with the Astros for a little while, finished up there, hurt his shoulder, came back, went the independent route, played in Atlantic City, Mexico, Venezuela, all over the country, and had a wonderful run at it. Finished up playing in my career. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I'm loving sports, loving the baseball, all parts of the baseball, not just the game itself, the people you're with. So it just led me to start teaching kids and doing lessons and stuff. And I was bouncing around from little league to little league in Central Florida there. And one day a mom brought me a 9-year-old team, and I didn't know she was going to bring me to Little Yankees because I had about 9 guys hit the ball over the fence, and she tricked me into starting a little academy and that kind of stuff. And so I've been doing that for the last 14 years now, and I couldn't ask the Lord for anything better. It's been a lot of fun to try to influence and help kids and help people reach their goals and the memories and everything to go with it. And the Lord blessed me for all them years to play ball and put me in a position to meet guys like y'all and talk sports and have Alan Trammell in your dugout when he was your childhood hero, and then have him be a roving instructor and guys like Bill. I could go down the list from all the heroes that you see, to Chet Lemons that you met, to playing against Albert Pujols, who's in the home run derby now, and I'm out here. So the baseball game's treated me pretty well, and I'm happy to be on your show tonight. Thank you, Scott, again for having me.
Oh, Mark, it's been a pleasure. So, we'll get to some topics, but before I take care of that, let's take care of some company business, if I may add. Okay, subscribe to the South Florida Tribune on our YouTube channel, or visit www.southfloridatribune.com and follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. To advertise, call 954-304-4941. The audio portion of the show can be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So if you're listening to us or simulcast visual, we have the crew, and we always look forward to coming up with some great guests, whether we have guests or not. I guarantee you one thing, you're going to learn a lot, and certainly, hopefully, we'll stimulate some opinions and get your wheels turning. So with that said, okay, Mark, obviously we know that you were traded for CJ Nitkowski and Brad Osmus. Tell me what it was like to be traded for those guys who went on to become future major leaguers.
Well, to be honest with you, it was crazy to be getting traded part. I was laying on my couch at my mom and dad's house in Florida, just watching CNN, and it said that the Tigers came on and traded for Brad Osmus and CJ Nikowski, for players to be named later kind of stuff. And I was trying to figure out who it was, and then it came across ESPN, that kind of stuff. So that's how I found out. The only thing that made me a little disappointed is when you're traded for future major leaguers and stuff, I guess when you're playing, you don't really look at it like that. You're just trying to get there yourself, kind of. So it's not really like I mean, obviously they played in the big leagues, and in the pressure, you look back on it and you're like, wow, that is pretty cool. But at the time, I was like, wow, I was kind of more upset with the Tigers not calling me for 3 days after they traded me, and the Astros called me right away. But the Tigers could call 3 days later. And that, I will tell you, though, growing up a Tiger fan and with my mom a Tiger fan, she disowned them after that. I will tell you that. But it was kind of cool after you look back at it. At the time, you was just trying to play ball and didn't matter really with you with the Astros or the Tigers. You was just trying to see how good you could get.
Yeah, not a good look if you have to find out on ESPN. You talk about some shoddy PR front office work. I got to tell you, hearing that from me kind of annoys me a little bit that you had to find out through a third party. At least had the decency to go out there and let the guy know he's been moved. I mean, in terms of now, were you married at the time, obviously? Or,
No,
or,
sir.
So what was the move like knowing that you ended up being traded, let alone not knowing for a while until the Astros came forward to let you know?
Well, when you're in the minor leagues and you're still coming up, and it was out of A-ball that I was traded. That year, I'd end up making the All-Star team with West Michigan. We won the championship there that year with the Whitecaps. We had Jeff Weaver on our squad and some other guys. I ended up being 11-3 that year, so I had a good year. Astros trade for you, but it's not like you in the big leagues where your family moves to Detroit and this and that. So I was still, bouncing around. I was living in Tampa with my mom, or in Newport Richey, actually, with my mom and dad there. So the move wasn't that hard. The weird thing is just the next year in the clubhouse, it almost felt like you were drafted again. The first time you step foot in the Tigers camp, you get to see Cecil Fielder and you get to see those guys and that kind of stuff. And then when you went to the Astros, all of a sudden you're seeing your other childhood heroes, the Bagwells and Viggios and that kind of stuff. And it's kind of surreal feeling when you walk in there.
So tell me what it was like to be pitching in the minor leagues. I know that, let's face it, scouts get eyes on pitchers anyways in the minor leagues. And I've been around the minor leagues in baseball for the better part of 40 years. And I think one of my most enjoyable things for me was being able to watch minor league pitchers develop at a time like that. And let's face the reality, I covered my first minor league team was the Fort Lauderdale Yankees, moved on to the Tampa Tarpons, and then I worked in '87. In Gastonia, and of course with Sammy Sosa and Gonzalez. But as a pitcher, what's it like though, knowing full well that if you're good enough, you should be able to move your way up, I would think, a little quicker than many of the position players?
That's part of my development. I wish I had a little better teaching at in the minor leagues is being professional. That's so being a minor league pitcher and that kind of stuff. I got drafted out of high school, and I don't know if I was mature enough to handle, hey, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to be a Detroit Tiger, or are you just relying on the fact that you throw 100 mile an hour? And so there's a big difference between those guys that get in the big leagues, that climb the ladders on their professionalism, they go to college, I think, a little bit based on the kids that get drafted out of high school like myself, that can look back on it and just was kind of happy being there and getting, like I said, oh, there's Biggio, there's Bagwell, oh, wow, I'm happy being here, rather than the guys that are stepping in that box against you, and the consistency it takes to work out, to take care of your body, to get your proper rest, to eat the right foods, to really do what they're doing nowadays to be the specimens they are. And I think that a lot of that is not only with your body, but I think it helps your mind more than anything, because baseball is a mental sport. And there was a time when I did get traded to Houston. I started out, I got there, I didn't give up a run in 13 innings or whatever it was in AAA, and they moved me down to A-ball, and I was going to be the opening day starter for us. Well, the Tigers came over, and I got to pitch against my boys from West Michigan that I played against there, and I got the yips. So I had the yips to start the year in Kissimmee there. They had a guy warming up for me opening day right next to me as I'm warming up, and I went on the Phantom DL. So getting the minor leagues is tough if you're not mentally strong, and you have to be mentally strong in order to go through that kind of stuff. And that's why I'm seeing these guys out here now that are talking about the minimum wage or the things that they're doing, or trying to get I think there's some court hearing, something on some minor league guys getting paid for what they go through and not getting enough money over it. I guess I don't even know exactly what's going on with it. I think I just read something the other day about that.
Very good. So, all right, George, Mark, anything you want to add to Mark?
Well, I just, you're bringing back a lot of names here that are near and dear to our hearts. You mentioned Cecil Fielder, and of course Trammell and Chet Lemon, and Oh, Tommy Brookins and Marty Castillo, and what a great team the Tigers had back then. I mean, they really, Sparky took over in '79, as you know, Mark, and then the Tigers won it all in '84, the year they went 35-5. Do you look back at that team like I do and say, wait a minute, why didn't they win more than one championship?
Well, it's hard to win. I mean, in '87 they came back and got in the playoffs. It's hard to win. Baseball is a crazy game. 7-game series. It's somebody that gets hot. It's the regular season, I think, that puts a lot of grind and the mental toughness of what really makes a ball club. The guys that finish in the playoffs and getting there almost, to me, is just as tough as the World Series. I mean, almost harder than winning the World Series. Almost, you get hot, you get going. One guy, Mark Grace or Will Clark back in the day, carry your teams for a series or whatever it may be when they played against each other, that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure why they didn't win more. I do know that looked like, on the outside, is the reason why I wanted to play ball and play team sports, because it looked like just that. It looked like a team. It looked like the Alan Trammell, Lou Whitaker for 20 years. It looked like the Jack Morrises and the Petries, and those guys looked like they were competitors but friends and that kind of stuff. Sparky, just even when the game against the Padres, when Gibson hit the home run and he's telling them, they don't want to pitch to you. They don't want to pitch to you. That kind of stuff. That looked like family. So every time I think back in the '84 Tigers, it looked like family to me, and that's what I don't see nowadays. To a lot of that stuff, no matter what sport it is, actually. But the family aspect that team brought that year hooked me on team sports.
Madman?
Yeah, Mark, so blessed to have you part of the show tonight. And man, when I look at the high school athletes and I look at the college guys, is there an advantage where the MLB teams more or less pick up the high school guy and develop them on their own more so than the colleges? And the other two-part this question, when you look at the warm weather cities like out here in California or Florida or Texas, is there an advantage of playing high school ball compared to the Northeast?
Yeah, I think that the advantage between the college guys and the high school guys is just the maturity aspect of it. I think even if you look at the draft now, I think I was looking at some numbers a little while ago where there's like 200 some guys D1, 1050 high school or whatever it may be. I think I look at it, it was a lot more college guys now that were drafted as opposed to high school guys. And I'm just thinking that they're untested. High school kids are still untested a little bit. And I think that there is a maturity that should be tested before you get drafted. I'm not saying that you couldn't get drafted out of high school and go, because it's some people can or some people can't. I think that getting drafted out of college, though, gives the pro guys a more chance to see if this is a guy we want to put in our clubhouse, whether you're throwing 100 or whether you're not. And then another thing to that is you can't really tell sometimes with these high school kids, like even in these big tournaments that they're playing in these AAU tournaments nowadays, or perfect game tournaments, they're all swinging wood bats. So right now, all these high school kids swinging these wood bats and the kind of stuff, it's hard to tell who can be good or not, because you're not facing 92 every day. So the high college guys, you're playing in the SEC or these things, you're facing elite level pitching. So they're 350 in college compared to what is that in high school? Is that 400? Is that whatever? That kind of stuff. So, and then as far as the warm weather cities, growing up in Michigan and playing all the sports, and come down to Florida, where I'm even in my academy, where it's mainly one sport kind of stuff. There are a lot of two-sport guys, but not as many down here. And I think that the warm weather cities have a lot more kids that are playing. So you're down here, let's say you got 1,000 kids down here playing. You're up there, you got 400. Well, obviously there's going to be more kids than 1,000 that can play a little bit compared to how many that can really play at a high level up there to keep pushing each other. So I think that's the biggest difference. But I can tell you right now, we play some of the northern teams and some of these big level travel ball programs that are coming from the Motor City or some Indiana Bulls, or I can name a few of them, Kalamazoo Maroons, where Jeter played at. They're here. I can think of some of the northern ones that got some guys. I have a buddy of mine actually just decommitted from Michigan to go to Clemson, Drew Titsworth. He's 92, 93. So they definitely got some arms up there as well. So I just, as far as the overall position players, there's a lot more in the warmer cities. Pitchers, they can come from either place.
All right. So let's move on to Justin Verlander. Mark, you told me the other day that the Tigers have not been the same since Justin Verlander left. Why don't you go into more details about that?
Well, on the outside looking in, I've never really met Justin. I just really admire the competitor, him, the Max Scherzers and that kind of stuff, the guys that come through there with their competitive fire. And the pitching staff is always, if that's the guy that's running, that's the leader of your pitching staff, your 2, 3, and 4, and 5 got to definitely want to try to pitch at that level because they get to see it every 5th day. So if you get to see that kind of competitor, which doesn't necessarily, he always has the best control because he does now better now, but he used to be a stuff guy. So when you're pitching with your stuff guy, you're really that kind of locked into making the best pitches you can on a consistent basis. And that got to raise the level for the rest of your staff. And right now we haven't had that in a minute. We brought in, what was his name? Zimmerman, that came over for a minute, but was supposed to be that. But you didn't look like he was our guy that people want to rally around. You looked like he was a good guy that we needed to pick up in a playoff stretch to come Doyle Alexander us, get us in there. That's what you remind me of. But you didn't look like he was going to run our staff for us. We haven't had that bulldog. And when you get a bulldog, and 2, I mean, we know when we have Max Scherzer and him, the Bulldogs, they're going to elevate everything else in the clubhouse, on the field, and everything else when you got that one bulldog. And we're missing that bulldog. I don't really see that fight in anybody. I think we're trying to hold their jobs.
Go ahead, Mark.
No, you're good.
Mark, I was going to ask you, can Major League Baseball learn anything from the College World Series, the excitement and everything? Because I think when I watched that, I think to me, if I'm in Major League Baseball, I can pick up some things and utilize that in the upper level. Any thought to that?
World Series kind of fun watching it. I mean, watching the World Series kind of fun. I mean, and then the college baseball is too. All the thing about college baseball is you got everybody playing at the same time to run a champion in the last day. So maybe the tournament style, I don't know, double elimination would be faster. I don't know, but the MLB gets to run it out a little bit more for business purposes and money, I guess, or whatever. But the excitement that the College World Series brings is because you got 8 schools all there at the same time in the same complex. So you're not playing in Detroit and then going over to Chicago, but the games itself, them big league dugouts, them guys are kids too when it comes time to that. That's what makes the playoffs and the College World Series, that kind of stuff. It's almost like being 12 years old again. And when you're playing out there, yes, the newspapers will come kick A-Rod's butt because you're 071 in October or whatever. But them dugouts, when you're playing and that kind of stuff, makes me feel like I'm 12 again. The excitement that it brings to don't worry about my numbers. I'm not worried about if I got a 5 ERA. I'm not worried about if I'm hitting 280. We are playing to win together, and it's the purest form of athletics, or in baseball, that is. And in the College World Series, I really enjoy it. World Series, I really enjoy it. So I guess the only thing would say is, I don't know, can you have it all at one spot? Same time.
Go ahead,
with
George.
fans. The bubble didn't work for basketball, but with fans.
Yeah, and getting back to Justin Verlander, let's just be honest here. It was a dumb move by the Tigers. I mean, they started unloading all their high-priced talent. Scherzer, they made a contract offer to, and he walked away and got a better deal with Washington. But losing JV, the man loved it here in Detroit.
He didn't want to go nowhere.
And they got nothing, hardly nothing in return, those guys in return. So it's really depressing, me being a Detroit media guy, to see this happen. I mean, he had his heart in this city. And as you know, Mark and Scott, I mean, he was the Detroit Tigers, and like you called him, a bulldog. And this guy comes back from Tommy John surgery, and he leads majors and wins. And that's another nail in the coffin of Al Avila, and before him, Dombrowski, for getting rid of him. I'm sorry, but that was a dumb move by the Detroit Tigers.
Well, you know what, Giorgio, you bring up a good point. Thanks for the segue. Madman, we'll get to you in a moment, okay? So bear with me. But great point. I want to segue into this. Justin Verlander recently did call out Al Avila. I know that, Mark, you and I were talking about the potential front office shakeup. Mark Persails. I got 2 marks here, so I got to make sure folks we can identify both my M square. Okay, forget the algebra stuff. So, with that said, well, let's talk to Justin Verlander calling out of Al Avila. All right, MP. We'll just call you MP. Okay, without the 3, because then we're getting computer talk. Okay. Can you? What are your thoughts about Justin Verlander calling about the Tigers front office shakeup centering around Al Avila, including the fact that maybe Verlander piled on, and of course Joel Zumaya went out there and criticized him too.
Yeah. Now, George hit it on the head. A dumb move. I mean, there's not many guys that you can even. I read something last season where it looked like, or maybe it was just fake news or whatever, but talking about the Tigers because we thought we were going to win, or they did. That's why they brought Torkelson up or whatever. And then I seen, well, Verlander's a free agent. Maybe want to come back and pitch his last year's. And then they should have explored that in a hurry, because if you can't realize you're missing that bulldog piece of what you got going on for everything, that's the best part of winning. The intangibles, when you have one of those guys can ignite a whole city. And that's what they had with Justin Verlander, and they let him go. So if you can't see that, I don't know what you can see and what you planning on building or where it's going, because it's just going round and round and round forever now since that guy left. I mean, since you let him go, and he didn't want to go, or it didn't seem like he wanted to go. Scherzer, go get your money, buddy. I'm not mad at you. Go do your thing. You're a Bulldog too. Go get you here. Go to the Dodgers. Go get your ring. Bounce around there. But Verlander was home here. And he wanted to fight for his home, and when they let him go, I got to let those guys go. No offense. I mean, I'm not really mad at you. I mean, I don't know about your thing. Hold on one. Oh, dude. my stepson coming on, and he ball player, he catching today. They getting ready to try to get something to eat as they got a game at 9 a.m. So, but anyway, Avila, Dombrowski, what are you doing to try to create a competitive monster? And I'm not talking about the numbers, the competitiveness. Does it start from you guys to our manager to all the way down? Where is the guy that's going to stand up in the paint? Where's that guy? Who is that guy that we can rally around? And if you guys haven't found him and you let the only one go that we have had in an amount of years, it's time to let y'all go and see who can get in there, because we have to find a bulldog. Now, Miggy, you're not really the bulldog. No offense to you. You're the guy that loves you hitting, and you're going to go down to Tampa or to Lakeland, and you're going to just have fun and be Miggy, kind of like Manny Ramirez, but a little smarter maybe. And the natural ability you have to hit, but I'm not so sure you could be the Michael Jordan-esque and punch Steve Kerr in the nose at practice, because you wasn't getting the most out of what we needed to do that day to get your team to rally around you. Or I could see Justin Verlander telling somebody off in a hurry that we're not doing good enough.
Man.
Well, Mark, I've always been for the players, and I'll always be for the players when they go after the owners. But yesterday was a head scratcher with Juan Soto. I mean, they offered him $350 million first. They upped it $90 million more, $440 million for 15 years. He would have been the highest paid player. I don't know if I don't mind betting on myself, but when you're under club control for 2.5 years, that's a lot of time to bet on yourself without getting injured and pulling a DeMarcus Cousins here. So I don't know how much advice he got, but then to turn it around on the Nationals and say, well, now they're going to trade me and everything. $440 million is a lot of money. I think the agent needs to be fired in this one. I don't know what your thoughts are.
I think that Juan Soto needs to look at himself in the mirror, and whether you got an agent or whether you don't, and say that this club just offered me $440 million to give a chance to me, and this city has responded to me the way that they have, and post up shop and be the guy that baseball's supposed to be about, and society is supposed to be about the family, about giving back, about you got $440 million, bud, for 14 years, and people that absolutely adore you. So now are you going to be like KD? You're going to bounce around to the highest bidders and see if you can hit a 3 every now and then, or what? Because if you would have, I'm not a big fan right now. When somebody offers you now, I'm not a big fan, but I would like to do some more research and see what's going on with it, because I don't know the whole ins and outs about Chris Sale. I got to work with him a lot when he was younger. He got in the contract you're talking about. He's got 2 years. Christopher just signed his and then got hurt a couple times with his with his elbow and now his finger. Yesterday or day before, I believe it was. But so Soto I didn't know he had 2 years still under contract. and they offered it to you now, they believe that even makes it kind of worse. They believe that much in you. They're willing to do it right now because they don't have to. They can wait to see if you get hurt and fizzle it out, but they're trying to give it to you now, and you got 2 years left. That makes it even sound more selfish is what's wrong with the world and what they need to just be just not good business, I don't think, or not playing the game for what it's meant to be played for.
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to add to this before we continue on is I believe Al Avila has to go, and I think that the opinions in Metro Detroit are probably amounting to that anyways. At some point or another, you either figure it out or you don't after 5 or 6 years. I understand rebuilds are tough, but don't tell me that the Baltimore Orioles, who are starting to play better baseball after 2-3 years of bad baseball, are catching up to you. That's all I can say. So I don't know whether there's a front office shakeup beginning with the general manager. I don't know, but I think it's not a matter of if and when. Hopefully, Chris Ilitch makes that move soon. So you talked about Miguel Cabrera, Mark. Okay, I want to continue on with that if I may. So would you say that Miguel Cabrera is just happy to get his hits, or guys are just looking up to him, glad to be just playing with him? Should he hold people more accountable and be more of a leader? Because you already mentioned, Mark, okay, that Justin Verlander is, but now let's put the focus on Miguel Cabrera. There's leaders that are vocal ones, lead by example, or just because of the fact that they're Hall of Fame status. So this could be broken down into 3 areas. I want to give you the front form on this one, Mark, because obviously you played a game we haven't.
Well, first and foremost, I look at Miggy and I smile every time I see my man playing the game. So that the him holding accountable and winning, if you're hooking your anchor to that, you're probably hooking a bad anchor. He's going to love playing the game and being a kid himself, and that's probably why the guy hit 350 every year and never stressed about anything and had a natural ability to do so. A lot of guys have natural ability to hit, but their mind gets in the way. He really looked like he enjoyed the game. Now, do I think that his leadership qualities could be better? I don't really know him personally, or not in the locker room, so that'd be tough for me to tell. However, some of your off the field little things here and there, if you're going to be the face of us trying to win or lose, then it probably should not have been there. You should. And this year, I did see him doing a lot of extra work this year, trying to get the young guys to want to play. But now I think that since he's the only guy that's hit, and he's just kind of, I'm still playing like it's been the last 4 years with Avila. Another reason why you got to go, because what have you put around Miggy to really help him, even because not everybody's a natural born leader. Miggy's going to lead because he's going to hit 350. But he's not, I don't know if he's going to shake somebody down in the locker room and say, hey, 2-0 pitch, you swinging at the ball in the dirt. We need to get a guy on base, and you taking it back at 2-0 in the dirt and grounding out to third. I don't know if he's worried about that, or I was 3 for 4 today, and that was good. And for, hey, young man, for you to get better, you should probably take that 2-0 pitch rather than bust his butt for it. But at the end of the day, Miggy's had the most wonderful career you can possibly have. So to put anything on him right now, on the Detroit Tigers, and the reason for their lack of success, is hard for me to do. Because they left him alone. I mean, if you left Verlander there with him, I bet you it's a good Batman Robin type thing. I think with Batman being Verlander and Robin being Cabrera, regardless of the numbers or who's a better Hall of Famer. But I think both of them be able to tag the Tigers, and I think that we'd be sitting here talking a different story right now.
Yeah, great analogies. I love the Batman and Robin approach. I really do. I mean, yeah, all I can say is Miggy leads by example, and his numbers speak for itself. He's the first ballot Hall of Famer. So with that said, I'll give everybody an opportunity to come on in this one. This has been a trending thing that's what we've been dealing with over the last week, and a really good one. And we'll keep it on Miguel Cabrera, but we'll also add Albert Pujols to the equation. I think Rob Manfred and the collective bargaining agreement worked out well, where they were both included in the All-Star game, and no regular spot was taken to honor these legends. So again, Mark Persails, why don't you talk about this, and then I'll round up. Everybody gets a crack at this one.
Well, growing up playing, getting able to face Albert Pujols and him, and it gives you goosebumps for a baseball guy, a real, like a historian in the games, and the guys that baseball is about, the history, the last year to this year, the next year, the previous 10 years ago, the stats and everything that goes to it, and the guys that put in the grind like Pujols in St. Louis. And I'm so glad that he's back in St. Louis too for him. I think that that's a wonderful baseball story. And the fact that MLB allowed these two guys to do something like this kudos to MLB for getting something right on this part. I think that now, how do you manage that though? Who's considered the legends and who ain't coming out? That kind of stuff. Who's not in the All-Star game? I don't think there's anybody on those two's level right now as far as off the top of my head hitting. But I mean, I don't know how you would monitor that or that kind of stuff, because why would one be in this year and then maybe not next year? Like Pujols retiring this year, Miggy's not. Is he automatically in the one next year because of the Legend Tour? Or is it just this year? I don't know.
All right, man.
Well, it's funny you just brought him up. He just beat Kyle Schwarber in the home run derby, so Pujols is advancing now. And when I think of Pujols, the shots against the Astros on the train tracks there in the Astrodome and Minute Maid Park and all that, and then you look at it. But I think the one guy that we're missing here is Dusty Baker bringing Willie Horton into this thing. And I love Miggy and I love Pujols, but I think if you're a manager and an all-star, I like when they bring these old timers back. And Willie Horton, I really liked him with Detroit, man. It's nice that Dusty Baker has got him by his side in the all-star game.
Good points, man.
I think that is actually wonderful. I think it's almost like the what they had that last year between the Yankees and I think maybe Red Sox, where they played at the Field of Dreams. So the All-Star game, when you get to bring back legends, even the guys out of retirement, for the guys to be kids out there and to look up to their heroes, regardless if you're Mike Trout looking up to Willie Horton or whoever he might have looked up to, that kind of stuff. All that is nothing but good for the All-Star game. The Major League Baseball All-Star game is the best All-Star game there is in all sports, and it's not even close.
Great points, man. Really. I'm glad you brought Willie Horton up. I'm glad you brought Dusty Baker. All right, George, I'm turning it over to you.
Well,
a pretty tough act to follow with these two guys. These guys are really throwing strikes tonight.
Yeah, I'm getting back to Cabrera. I mean, Miggy is Miggy. I mean, you can't change what Miggy is. They knew he wasn't going to be probably a leader. And don't forget, you got the language barrier too. Okay. His English is not the best of it. He does not make himself available for interviews after every game. He's not one of those type of players that's going to do that. And I'm sure the PR directors have tried to get him to talk more to the media, but he doesn't. As far as the clubhouse goes, I agree with you, Mark. I mean, I don't know what's going on inside there, but he doesn't seem to be the rah-rah guy in your face. I agree with you there, but he's still a Hall of Famer. So you have not surrounded him the last few years with enough talent. I agree. They deserve to be in the All-Star game. Obviously, he and Pujols, I'm supporting that 100%. And I believe former commissioner did that once or twice too. I think maybe Willie Mays or somebody, I remember years and years ago, was put in, but now it's in the collective bargaining agreement. I understand the new CBA,
right,
that the commissioner can do this. So he's a great leader on and off the field. So is Pujols. What a great career he's had. I think it's only fitting that they're perhaps swan song, unless both of them have an unbelievable start to next season. I think this will be the last time we see them together like this. But and Willie Horton, yeah, it's good, but it's too bad it took this many years, Mark. Yeah. Okay, the man's 80 years old. So again, Dusty Baker gets credit for it, but boy, they sure as hell waited a long time to invite Willie back to the All-Star game. That's my only complaint. Willie's had some health issues lately, and I'll be honest with you, they're very fortunate that he's well enough to travel from Detroit to LA, because he's had some issues over the years, and God bless him. Scott and I know he means so much to Detroit and the city of Detroit. He got a statue, he got his number retired, and he's not even in the Hall of Fame. That's a very rare honor by the Tigers to do that with somebody. And thank God they're going to retire Lou Whitaker's number in August also.
Yeah, fortunately, I had the opportunity to spend time with Willie Horton over in spring training in Lakeland.
You did, yes.
I did, and I'll never forget my time there. What a class act if yours ever won. So I'm glad that he got all the respect and the things he needed to go ahead and get when he was with the Tigers. But I spent time talking to him about that. We talked about the Gulf War and the Afghanistan, I said, I hate to tell you this, Willie, this is going to be another Vietnam waiting to happen. And he nodded, yeah, I think you're right. But Willie, just, again, members of the media, you got to be careful about taking pictures with these guys and all that, because otherwise you get your credentials stripped. But the one thing they can't take away from you are the memories itself. So I'm glad that we were all right, Madman. What do you got?
Well, the consensus is, we all like Verlander. I like Scherzer too. But who is the all-time Tiger here? Is it Mickey Lolich? Is it Al Kaline? Is it Lou Whitaker? Is it Kirk Gibson? What's the consensus in Detroit if they had to pick one Tiger they can latch onto there?
Al Kaline.
There's two of them to me, Al Kaline and Alan Trammell. And Ty Cobb, there's three.
Yeah.
All right, Mark Persails, you were, George. All right, I'm going to go around the horn because that's such a good question, Madman.
Yeah.
All right, George, give me your top two.
My top two are going to be, that's tough. I mean,
you think my questions are designed to be easy? Although Madman gets to this with this one.
I mean, I didn't know anything about Ty Cobb, but what he did was unbelievable. I still got to go with Cobb and Kaline as my top two.
All right, Mark, proceed. Go ahead. And if you decide to take three, then since you're the guest, we have to give it to you. So go ahead.
I'd have to put my Mount Rushmore together.
Well, don't worry.
Alan,
don't start giving me future ideas for shows because I won't have a problem doing it.
Alan Trammell was my favorite growing up, so he's got to be on there for me. And then Al Kaline, I got to see him in spring training and talk to him and that kind of stuff. And what an awesome guy and true professional. So, and then Ty Cobb, I guess he would probably, if you give me a third one, that would probably be just because he simplifies what we're supposed to be: play hard, nose down, and go in hard so you're safe.
Okay, man, go ahead. Take a.
Well, I'm gonna look at it from a different aspect of it. A guy that's really jump-started the city in baseball. I'd have to put Mark Fidrich on that. Mark Fidrich would be my number one guy, and I kind of grew up with this guy. I mean, he was middle of the pack to a certain extent, but I really liked him. Was Mickey Lolich.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody. I mean, when you looked at what Fidrich did for the city. It was amazing that year. The bird, the whole get up on the mound, and we lost him early, but I think Mark Fidrich would be mine.
Well, I'll tell you now, you really guys put me in where I have to take four. But now I got to actually be partial toward Mickey Loach because he's been on one of my shows before. So how do I not give the guys respect? Ty Cobb, Al Kaline, Mickey Lolich, and I'll throw another name out there, Hank Greenberg, for a lot of you traditionalists out there. So
yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. And one that I really enjoyed talking about with Mark, as we talked about last night, your experience in the Arizona Fall League. We all know it's a top-tier league where you bring some of the best players in there. Why don't you let the audience know some of the players that you played against or your teammates with? Because some of the names you dropped off to me last night were absolutely unbelievably intriguing.
One of my buddies actually, when Madman was talking about Albert Pujols hitting the bombs on the trains out there, was Brad Lidge. So me and Brad Lidge was pretty good friends and been playing cards and stuff in the back of the buses and A-ball and watching him rise up through that, playing in the Fall League with him. Pujols was actually in that league when we was out there. Jimmy Rollins was our shortstop out there. Brad Wilkerson, left fielder out there that was big time at Florida, played in with Expos, and Roy Oswalt was out there. Some of my Tiger buddies that end up playing in the big leagues a little bit, Chris Keller, Chris Wakeland, that never really careers never took off like I think they probably could have. But that league out there is a lot of fun to play in. A lot of prospects everywhere. My manager was Tony Pena, so that was pretty cool to have Tony Pena be the manager out there. Yeah, so that league. The league was tough and it's exciting. Every game was at 1:00. Every time you played, you were playing against each big league team. Sent out 6 prospects out there, so you was facing the guys, and 85% of them guys in that league played in the big league. So it was a fun experience being in that. I just wish I could have been part of that 85.
All right. Well, with that said, let's go ahead and transition towards you building a baseball academy. And I want you to acknowledge the people that are helping you do it, give them their props. But I believe it's called the Florida Baseball Heaven, and you've been doing it 14 years. Why don't you give the audience an idea what you're doing? Because this is unbelievable. I can't wait to get out there and spend time with you over in Lakeland. And you said it was like 5 minutes away from Tiger Town. But you know what, Mark, we're saying The floor is yours. Let's talk about the Florida baseball heaven.
Well, Florida baseball heaven originated with, I was working at a baseball academy. A buddy of mine called me over. His name is Kevin Lytle. I don't know if you ever heard of Kevin Lytle. His brother was the one who pitcher for the Lytle that pitched for the Yankees that flew the plane. And anyway, he get me over to there, and we started doing some lessons. And then I started bouncing around from little league to little league, and came across Pastor Joe Bowles, who is a big pastor in Florida there. And I started doing lessons with his son, who's actually playing minor league ball now. And we started up Florida baseball heaven. Right now, we built it up over the last 14 years we got roughly 200 kids in the program. We got probably 15 guys that have played in the big leagues now and that kind of stuff. Chris Sale came through there a little bit. Al Asher, pitcher with the Phillies. Keon Broxton, who is he was with Milwaukee, robbing some home runs, that kind of stuff. Addison Barger right now, I'm very intrigued. Probably the hardest worker in our program coming up. He actually led the Florida State League last year in home runs, and he just got moved up to Double-A, I think, on Saturday with the Toronto Blue Jays. Was last Saturday? With Toronto, he was hitting 300 with 14 jacks in Vancouver right now to start out. So We got some guys, and we got a lot of guys that are playing college baseball from JUCOs, the D1s, the D2s. Doesn't matter what level you're playing at. We're just trying to help you play as long as you can for the love of playing, and maybe help put it on a resume that you went to college and played college baseball and was able to be there 4 years.
Mark, it's amazing. Okay, you bring up Keon Broxton. I had an opportunity to write a story on him when I was out in Arizona over at Maryvale in Phoenix with the Brewers train. And then I caught up with him when he was with the Mets in St. Lucie. And, Keon, what a few people don't know is that Keon Broxton is a Lakeland native is what he is. Mm-hmm. And, it's not like he aspired to play for the Tigers, even though he really didn't go to many spring training games there at all. But, he was in that area. And yet when you talk about the fact that your academy is based in Lakeland and that in Plant City, that's where you live and that's where your teams practice, being formerly of the Tampa Tribune, I know the area real well. And to me, everybody knows that Tampa is a big hotbed. I've worked with the likes of Eddie Cardieri, Pop Cuesta, K.R. Lombardia, and the list goes on and on. So Keith Hernandez, formerly of the Tigers, a pitching coach, Fort Lauderdale Yankees, been around. So let me tell you, for a lot of you folks that don't know much about the Tampa Bay area, and you brought up Fred McGriff earlier tonight, I'm going to tell you the Tampa Bay area is a real treasure for developing a lot of players. And the fact that you're located basically off of I-4 when you connect the dots from Plant City to Lakeland, which if I remember right, depending on traffic, because we all know I-4 is a pain in the butt, you can make that drive in 20 to 30 minutes all day long back and forth. What you have going on there is just unbelievable with the Florida baseball heaven. The fact that you brought Keon, and again, he's just one guy that I know because my baseball paths have crossed. So tell me a little bit more about the development and how these guys are really progressing to become bona fide prospects and subsequently become major leaguers.
Well, I love our coaching staff. I've had guys in and out from I always try to put the best baseball people I can around my kids and around the guys. And it's a bit like Coach Ozzie, like I said, the hitting coach with the Milwaukee Brewers, Ozzie Timmons, comes back and helps us out. Terry McGriff, who has a World Series ring with Cincinnati. He actually was traded before Cincinnati went to Houston, but he's got a World Series ring there. We have C-Free. Coach Corey Freeman played 6-7 years with the Seattle Mariners, was shortstop behind A-Rod. He played in AAA there. I got some good high school coaches that helped me out. And now when you've been doing it for so long, 14 years, now you start to feel a little old when your boys that went off to play at University of Florida, they're now coming back and coaching your teams for you. Or you got kids that on your 11-year-old team that you coach their daddies. So it's kind of come full circle, and the family aspect that we built up over the years now from everybody, knowing everybody in the program. My older guys, my 18-year-olds look up to take care of my little 8 and 9-year-olds. I got 14-year-olds that go sit in the dugout at the 16 and under tournaments. It's been a lot of fun, and the development comes just from the people and what we're really about. And it's really about the kid, and that first and foremost about the journey, not necessarily the destination.
Madman.
I want to talk about the spring training in Florida compared to Arizona. Growing up, it seemed like everybody was heading to Florida. The Dodgers were in Vero. The Rangers used to play in Pompano Beach. And now we've got some of these teams, the Tigers have been there in Lakeland for years, the Pirates in Bradenton. But it seems like a lot of these teams have moved over to Arizona. Is it a land thing where they're getting everything built for them? Kind of like, in the movie industry in Los Angeles, everybody left LA because of high taxes and went to, Nashville and Charlotte. What's the status of the spring training in Florida compared to Arizona now?
You know what? I can actually answer that question for you. And then I want to get over to the event, Mark, okay, that you're going to promote. Having lived in Arizona and now living in Florida, and I've been to all Cactus League stadiums out in Arizona. The state of Arizona committed itself deeply to spring training, and they invested a lot of money to get those teams and lure them over to the Cactus League. So you got like 15 and 15. And I've seen every facility and how you have multi-teams at one particular site, easy to schedule. And another thing that I can tell you right now is that if you're traveling Cactus League, all the teams can play each other. You don't have to go across state to do it, so it's a lot easier on travel time. So, Arizona spent a lot of money, and let's face the reality, okay, that you don't have to travel very far. You can play all the teams, not limited to certain ones in your area. Florida's a big place where you can have spring training teams going 4 or 5 hours on a trip where there's no hotel cost for a lot of the Cactus League. So, Madman, I can answer that because I probably have a little bit more experience on that, and I just thought I'd throw that out there. So, money, geography, sensibility, Florida will always be good. But the Cactus League, and I've talked to managers and players, they love it, the Cactus League. So it's a lot easier. So with that said, okay, Mark Persails, I want you to talk about the event in August, and I want you to let everybody know in the audience all the different schools that are involved. Because when I looked at that list, MP, that was about the most impressive list I have ever seen collected in an event in the state of Florida. I don't think you brought many of them from South Florida. I think there were 1 or 2. But you know what? I'm not going to go out there. I'm going to let you go out there and mention all the schools that you feel are worth talking about and when it is so that people can look for it.
Well, it's actually our second annual college showcase event for our boys. When you've been doing a baseball academy, everything happens in time and try to figure out how to do it. I've after been doing it so long and building up the relationships with the coaches just from going to these tournaments and having players that want to come, I just invited them all to come to a workout for us last season, and it worked out wonderful. We had 120 kids out there, had about the same schools that we had this year. This year's event, we're going to have probably 25 schools. We'll end up be there from UCF to Florida Gulf Coast, USF, Florida, and Florida State have just informed me that they will come, although they're not on the flyer yet. They got to me before I had to get the flyer out before it was too late. And they just got back with me as they come and see my right-handed pitcher today throw up here in Georgia and see him touch 91 at 16. They figured that they might want to come out to see our showcase as well. So it gives me a chance to invite not only the D1s, but the Polk States, who me and Al Corbeil, a friend of mine who we played with the Tigers, actually. He was a farmhand. He's the head coach of Polk State College in Florida, Barry University, Flagler, Hillsborough Community College, St. Pete Community College, State College of Florida from Manatee. There's now their school reached out to me today. Albany State here in Georgia had reached out to me. So it's an event that we're going to try to we have a lot of fun out there. It's not like some of these showcases where you see each kid get 4 ground balls at shortstop and throw it across first. We run a regular practice basically, where we're doing dual fungos, BP pitchers. Each pitcher will throw to 4 hitters. That way it's not a wasted long game where you're out there for 2 hours and nobody gets to do a whole lot. So we make sure that we monitor that. We have freshmen all the way to seniors going. We have 2 fields. So on the one field, we'll have our freshmen and sophomores, who most of D1s like watching the freshmen and sophomores because they already know on the juniors and seniors about who they've already tried to recruit to narrow it down for their roster coming up for their next year. Because each college, I think, they commit these kids. That's one of these things I think that we could talk maybe a later date on is the number of kids that commit to these colleges and how many they actually going to take. And so sometimes you get these kids that commit to a college and then they get there and they say, well, you can walk on. Well, now we're scrambling to try to find them a place to make sure that they're able to go play. So, but the event itself, It's so much fun to watch out there, and I get to talk about all the boys in front of these colleges. So I'm excited about it. August 13th, it should be a good one.
Well, I should point out we have a little activity in the chat room. I want to thank Ralph Williams for being on and Joe Clearwater as well. So these guys are asking some pretty good questions. That just goes to show you how important it is that we want to make sure that we have an opportunity to do exactly what we're doing. And with the crew I have tonight, of course, I want to let everybody know, Mark, obviously we're talking baseball with you tonight, but I expect this to be the first of as many appearances you want to be on. But we'll focus on baseball tonight. We know you're a native Michigan guy, so you'll be talking about other teams. But before I go any further, subscribe to the South Florida Tribune on our YouTube channel or visit www.southfloridatribune.com and follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. To advertise, call 954-304-4941. The audio portion of the show can be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. I should point out, everybody, that we appreciate the efforts of Candy Ebling out there for doing a marvelous job, getting the shows up on the Tribune as well as where she can and the content. No show without mentioning her would be complete. Should also point out, if you want to email us, so I have questions for everybody on our crew, feel free to do so at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Mark Persails, all I can tell you, my friend, is we really enjoyed having you on tonight. But let me tell you, this is just beginning of a lot of opportunities for us to bring you on in many different ways. But I just feel like we cover a lot of good things tonight. I really do. And, being a farmhand, my farmhands don't always make it to the major leagues, but it doesn't mean that they can't have an impact in a lot of ways. I can tell you how many great managers never made it to the major leagues. I don't even think Tom Lasorda or Mark Mancini made it to the major leagues, but we all know how well he did. I don't think Sparky Anderson played the big leagues, but how did he do? So, this is the kind of thing where you're an organizational guy. Just because you don't make it to the big show doesn't mean you're not going to contribute. I mean, I've worked with a bunch of them in the Yankee system, Reds, and wherever in the Texas Rangers. So when you talk about the fact that just because you've been in professional baseball, you don't make the jump to the big leagues, does not mean you can't be productive in this game. And Mark Persails, you're a classic example of why it's great to have someone like you on here, because you're contributing to the game, the great American pastime, because your great work with the Florida Baseball Heaven, and of course the event, we had the opportunity to promote it. This has just been a lot of fun. I am sure that
I appreciate you having me on here. This is I could talk sports all day and kids and youth, and I just appreciate you guys having me here.
Well, don't worry, you'll have plenty of opportunities to do so. With that said, George Eichorn, why don't you get any final thoughts before we go out there and let you promote what you stand for?
Well, we didn't say much about the University of Michigan. Okay. Let's give kudos to Go Blue. They had a great run at the College World Series a year ago. Unfortunately, they got knocked out early rounds this year. Eric Bacchus has done a great job, and Fetters, the pitching coach, of course, was promoted to the Detroit Tigers staff. So we'd be remiss if not recognizing the U of M and what a great strides they've made in their baseball program. You got to go back to Bud Middaugh, go back to Bill Freehan as one of their managers. U of M's had a great team, and I really want to say hats off to them. And also, I don't know if you know this, Mark, but the number one college pitcher came right here from Detroit, Orchard Lake St. Mary's. The guy's thrown no hitters all during this season, and God help me, I have no idea why the Tigers did not take him. He was supposed to go in the first or second round, and he slipped to I believe the fourth round. The Rangers took him, but the Tigers are going to rue the day that they let this kid go from their own backyard from Orchard Lake St. Mary's. But
I'm a high school coach in Florida, so I pay attention to that. And I've been Orchard Lake, weren't they like 31-0 or something like that?
Yep.
They were number one rated team in the country, I believe.
He threw a no-hitter in like the regionals and in the finals. And but the Tigers have a lot of pitching depth. I understand that, so they went with in the draft with mostly positional players. But no, it's great talking to you, Mark. And I got to echo Scott's sentiment. I mean, there's players that, just because you're not a superstar doesn't mean you can't contribute years and years, like you said, to the game going forward. And what you're doing is remarkable, Mark, taking these youngsters and working with them making their skills even stronger for someday, hopefully, to be good players in either the college ranks or the professional ranks.
All right, so we're going to go around the horn here really quickly before we wrap it up. Want to make sure everybody gets an opportunity to go out there and let everyone know how they get a hold of them. All right, we'll lead off, obviously, the appropriate turn with George Eichorn. Let everybody know how they can get a hold of you, and then we'll go to Madman Mancini, and then last but not least, Mr. Persails. Go ahead, George.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Yeah, get a hold of me at Twitter at SNG Sports 99. Also, you can get a hold of me on Facebook under George Eichorn. And I'm the author of a book on Detroit sports broadcasting that came out a few years back. And if you want to, there's a link on the South Florida Tribune website to order a copy of my book. And that book includes our own host, Scott Morganroth, who has his roots deep in Detroit and the Motor City.
Yeah, the photos in there with me are Muhammad Ali and Jimmy Connors. So just so you know, go out there and get that book. It's not only a good read, it's a book filled with a lot of photos. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to read that thing or look at it. All right, Madman Mancini, we know that you set the Guinness Book of World Records for how many podcasts you can show. We're glad that we're a part of your Guinness Book of World Records in the lineup. And you and I have a lot of ambitious plans going forward, don't we, Madman?
Mancini Sports at yahoo.com. XM203, Sirius 217 on Fridays. Thursdays, it's Philadelphia's WWDB AM 860, Liberty Bell Smack with Marianne, Sal, and myself. And then my big dream is that thing on twice a week with Tarek Brock, the first base coach of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
I know
That's the Pittsburgh Pirates podcast. I'm so blessed to do that each and every week. Been doing it almost 2 years. And this show, I love it, man. It's sweeping the country with all you great guys and part of that Florida show and all these other things. And, you know, good times with good people. Good things come to people who wait. And we've seen a lot of people make some strides, Peter Blake and all these other guys, and just so blessed with everybody. But money comes and goes. Relationships are priceless.
Right. And Mark Mancini, just, you know, folks, and I appear on Saturday Sports out in Oakland with Bruce Kessinger. Of course, Mark's part of the Fire Up series, and Mark does the very best that he can to get me on some of his other shows as well. And that's appreciated, because it's all about cross promoting, getting to know people. I was on the Philadelphia show as well, and because of Mark, I've also got Lou Landers, who's a contributor on 108 Stitches. So, you know, I enjoy every time Mark and I have a chance to do something together. And again, we're just Mark and I and everybody that I bring involved. It's all part of a growing family, and I'm so appreciative and blessed to be a part of people that you can always build things around. And last but not least, Mr. Mark Persails. Okay, and again, we know you're going to be coming back, so it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We'll be working on it. But I'm glad we were able to get it in. Go ahead, Mark.
Yes, sir. You can get a hold of me at FBH office at yahoo.com and shoot me an email. Let me know if your 12-year-old likes to play ball or not, and really get him out there. Or if you got an 18-year-old that can run a 6'4" and you need to get him in front of somebody, or if you got a young man out there that just wants to learn how to work hard and be the toughest little SOB you can be on the field. And to be on here with three professional guys like yourself that I can tell that it's a lot of fun out here. I really feel like I'm on First Take or something like that with you guys out here. As a matter of fact, to be honest with you, a little bit better than First Take, if I must say so, to listen to you guys and the questions that you guys ask me, that you really can tell how professional this is and how exciting that makes someone like me to be able to come on here. So I am looking forward to more times, very, very much so, and I appreciate you again.
Well, all I can say is, you know what? If you're putting me in First Take, all I can say is Mark Persails, you're first class. So what can I tell you? Pun intended for sure by every stretch. But meanwhile, it has been a lot of fun tonight. And yes, Mark, as I said, probably for the zillionth time, we're looking forward to having you on as a regular contributor on not only this show, but potentially other shows as well. As in the kind words of one of my favorite singers, Karen Carpenter, we've only just begun. And on that note, okay, we're about to end. So on behalf of George Eichorn, Mark Persails, and Mancini, my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Fire Up Michigan, and we look forward to the next episode out there, everybody. And please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel so you can see and listen to us, okay? Have a good night, everybody. God bless, and we will catch you the next time. Good night now.
Night.